Hello there, this is Anthony Johnson, and I am back with another video. So the first video that aired prior to this one is how to essentially create a database. I'm just essentially, the premise of that is going to be, I'm going to walk you guys through how to build out a database, how to actually step by step, um, several processes of building out a quality database and what it takes to go through it. So the first one, essentially, we're going to be working off of text files. We're going to mimic essentially a real world environment. We don't have any FTP paths set up or anything like that. I'm working off a new laptop. Eventually, we will build out some SSIS packages to automate some of the stuff, but in the meantime, we're going to do it manually. So let's get back to the premise of this actual portion. So we are going to open up our database. It's already filtered for our new database that we created, data company. We're actually going to open it up because we already have our tables in there. We're going to start off, we have a total of 4 tables. We're going to start off with services. We're going to right click. We're going to do top 100 or top 1000 rows. This portion of the series will be essentially formatting, how to format your data, your raw data, before you actually put it into its home, which is an actual database or a data lake or something like that. So let's remove the top 1000. I like to drop this underneath. I'm just going to walk you guys through my process. It's more than one way to skin a cat, but this is essentially how I do it. So we're going to create a database or create a table. It's going to be a temp table, but it's going to be called services. And what we're going to do here is we're going to keep the same naming conventions as the raw files. Okay, you see that so in the grand scheme of things, typically I will put an identity on the table so we can keep the tracking like that, but we already have our service codes. We're essentially going to keep it the same. 0 symbolizing no service. That's typically for like new clients that we bring on. It's like a default value, and then we have our services from there. So we're going to continue building this out. This is going to be small int. We're only going to offer so many services. It's not going to surpass the limit. For the service, the actual name of the service, we're going to do varchar. We'll do 255. Cost of the job, we're going to do decimal. Say 19.4 or 2 actually. Gotta spell decimal right. I'm just gonna copy and paste that here as well. So essentially what this is saying is service cost per job. That's if we are doing a one-off service, offering a one-time service, and this is for the contract, how much it will be per year. So if you look here in actual data, this is why I like to do the top with 1000. To actually take a peek of the data and see what's going on here. And you see it's not formatted quite yet, and we'll take care of that. So we have what we have here. Now we're going to do insert into services. It's best practices to list out all your columns, but it's such a small table. We're just going to keep it like this. Now we're going to convert our data, because once you bring it over, like using a default transfer, like how we did with using the task to importing the data, is going to use varchar 50 and or whatever size it needs to, some type of varchar value. It won't come in as a integer value. Sometimes it does it with the dates. It comes in as a date, but sometimes it comes in as varchar as well. So we're gonna have to cast. We don't have to cast the service, but the service CD, we're gonna have to cast that. I used to be hardcore convert, but cast is pretty simple and it gets the job done. So cast as int. We're gonna do small int, keep it uniform across the board. Service, we don't have to do that as long as it's enough space for the values that we're bringing in. So I don't see any of these values surpassing 255, so we're good on that front. Now if it was like varchar 100 that we're trying to insert into a varchar 100 column, then I'll be a bit skeptical, because some of these could potentially be passing 100 characters, including the spaces and the hyphens. Keep that in mind. It's not solely just the characters. So we're gonna cast these two. We're gonna keep it uniform, decimal 19 too. So one of my favorite tricks is Alt Shift, so we can cast both of these simultaneously until we get to this point. But it is decimal 19.2. And what this essentially symbolizes is I'm not sure if it's a billion or a trillion, whatever the number may be, in front of, that's how much you can have in the front. Then after the decimal, that's in front of the decimal. After the decimal, you can have 2 decimal places, or 0, 0 essentially. That's what we're aiming for. So let's close this out. And pardon me if my explanation wasn't clear. You'll just have to put your hands on the keys and experience it yourself, the truncation errors and all sorts of things like that. But let's go here. Okay, so now let's go above here. Let's make our code reusable. You'll do if object ID underscore ID parentheses, inside of the parentheses, then we're gonna do double single quotes, and then we'll go inside of there, temp DB, because we have a temp table that we're dealing with, dot our temp table name, which is services. We're gonna say is null, no, is not null. So if the table doesn't exist, or if the table exists and it has data in it, if the table exists, we're gonna drop it. That's what it was saying here. Just keep it simple. We're gonna just drop the table if it exists. That's what is not null stands for. Null is, it can be a little tricky when you're first learning SQL. Even if you do have experience with it as well, just some of the ways that you have to approach it, like using coalesce, using is null functions, the way you have to write your where clauses, things like that. So continue here. Alrighty. So with your if object ID, if you're ever gonna have this in your script, you want to have this above the creation of the table, or you can have it at the top of the script. And then out down here at the bottom, we're just going to do simply select all from our services table. Now we can have the free reign to execute and edit at will, because we have that F object ID code up here. This code right here makes it reusable. Alrighty, so as you can see, our formatting works. It was successfully inserted into the table because you see we have data, because we also have at the bottom that we're selecting from the actual table, the temp table that we created. And so essentially what we're gonna do now is we're gonna cut it here, and I'll take care of the other work on the back end, and then we will start to build out stored procedures. So I'm going to replicate this process with the other tables, and then in the next video you will see how we can use the stored proc to actually do this work, because what we're going to do is we're going to continue to have these same files come in, and it's going to be formatted the same way. So we're mimicking an actual business. So everything's gonna typically be in place, so the stored procs will be reusable. So I hope this was helpful. I hope you guys enjoy this series. Take care and bye bye.